Hello everyone. When the samurai of old approached the tea house, they had to leave their swords outside the door. The tea house door was low so that they had to bow and go under. All of this was to take them away from their usual routine and was a statement that the time for tea was a pause, was a time for reflection, was a time for appreciation. Tea gives us that moment of relaxation where our whole body can relax. I wanted to share with you a quote, not from a Japanese master, but from a Sufi master, Hazrat Inayat Khan, when he said that if there was anything about his philosophy, it was the law of harmony. That for every word, there was a rhythm, a melody for every thought, and harmony in every feeling. So how can we move into this sacred rhythm with our words, that our feelings are harmonious, that our thoughts are melodic? Well, I think tea does give us that opportunity, and no more really than the Japanese tea ceremony. It really exemplifies the elegance of tea and the sacredness of it. And in the Japanese tea ceremony, everything is very, very important. There's scrolls on the wall with seasonal sayings and beautiful calligraphy. And probably most important are the actual implements themselves. Now, the Japanese don't call it the Japanese tea ceremony. For them, it is a spiritual path, chado, the way of tea. And the Japanese tea ceremony, what we call or chado, is very, very choreographed and very, very exact. We don't need to go to those extremes. And today we're just going to make ourselves a cup of matcha. Now, interestingly enough, I do have a gift of matcha, which I haven't opened. You will not be surprised to know if you've been following these. And this was a gift. And matcha comes in very varying qualities. And this is a very high quality matcha. For those of you who've not come to meet matcha before, it is a powdered green tea, but very, very special, very high quality. It's grown in the shade, which brings it up the antioxidant qualities of it. It's steamed early so that it's very fresh and vibrantly green, and then dried and then ground into a fine powder. There's food grade matcha, and then there's ceremonial matcha, and the ceremonial matcha is a much higher quality. We're going to have that ceremonial matcha today. As you can tell, this is directly from Japan, or I don't know if you can tell or not, but it's directly from Japan. I see all the Japanese. There's enough English in it to tell me that this particular matcha contains gold flakes. Yes, real gold flakes. So that's very exciting. And this is something that is done in Japan. They do put gold flakes in it, very, very, very fine. And it is actually healthy. I wouldn't imagine in huge amounts, but in small amounts. And it's really delightful. They really care about keeping their tea fresh. So here's a kind of a sealed container, which I'm opening. And again, for every quality, everything we're doing needs to have this moment of pause and reflection. Although just opening this obviously would be different. Now, as you can tell, that was completely sealed. And as I take out this bag, again, this bag is sealed as well. So let me see if I can open it without making too much of a mess. I think I am going to make a bit of a mess actually. So let me see what I can do here. To open it. So again, this idea of harmony is really what we want to come to grips with in this session today. I think they're directing me to something here. There you go. Ooh, I don't know if you saw that. There was a puff of green tea. So thank goodness that I was able to find a way out of this. And we find that it's this beautiful quality. Again, we want to open our nose to the aroma that comes from it. And I'm then going to pour it out into this container here so that it's easier to come to grips with without spilling too much of it. I wanted to share this with you just because the excitement of just opening a brand new matcha, and it's going to be very impossible for me to show this to you, but that there are actual gold flecks as I'm pouring this tea in. Now, in terms of making matcha tea, I don't know if I can't really show that to you. It's a very vibrant green color, and there's not much of it. It's very, very expensive at a ceremonial grade level. So this is a real gift, and very grateful for it. And let's go ahead and make this tea. As you can tell, I was a bit awkward there opening it up, as always, just like, I talk about harmony and everyone has to be relaxed, and then I kind of just go through, how do I open this? And I was almost going to stop the video for a moment, but then get some scissors, but I found my way out of it. Fortunately, there was an arrow here that showed me how to open these things. So back to being calm again, the whole idea of the harmony. I do want to share with you one of the most important things are these implements. If I was doing the Japanese, I would be putting this bamboo spoon, what is this thing called? I don't know. Well, this bamboo flask or whatever into the water and then scooping it into the tea. So this would be in a brazier. I would bring this bamboo up and I would just be pouring it in. So very beautiful. The brazier would be steaming in the tea room. So again, the quality of this would be something to be admired. This is a particularly high quality bamboo cup, but it's lovely, and there's varying qualities. I mean, a high quality one would be different, but again, it would be something to be admired. Another implement is this scoop. This is what I'll be using, again, bamboo, and I'll be using it to scoop up the tea itself, and the whisk, very important in the matcha tea approach. I want to share with you one of the most important aspects of the tea ceremony is the actual bowls themselves. This is a tea bowl. I once wrote about this I think it's in Living the Spiritual Principles of Abundance and Prosperity books, how I got this. It was an extraordinary gift, and it still really assists me this day to find peace and harmony. It was made by an artist, Japanese artist. Sometimes they're made by many generational potters. This was made by an artist, and it was made in a very special way, but it kind of has many aspects to it, and it's constantly fascinating and asymmetrical, and a beautiful, beautiful bowl. Extremely expensive. And when the artist gave it to me, it was a gift from the tour group, the PTS tour group. When the artist gave it to me, his wife actually, she said it to me, she said that there's two artists. The first is the one who makes it, and the second is you, what you do with it, the vibration that you put into it. So again, we come into this aspect of harmony. When we hold the tea bowl, we hold it this way. There's a prescribed way of holding it. You turn it a quarter turn. You start off in the front of the bowl, usually where it's been fired. In this case, probably in this area here where you can see that most of it was done, and then turn it, and then you lift it to your mouth and sip the tea. So this is but you don't have to be expensive and you don't have to be artist. Oh, by the way, this woman also said that to the Japanese, a tea bowl has a soul. So they really are into the sacredness of this bowl. So when we talk about melody and harmony and rhythm, we need to bring that into our tea moments and tea movements as well. And that's why I'm enjoying this series of tea and overtones, because it does have a musical harmonic quality to it. Of course, as I mentioned before, we can always take a tea bag and just throw it in and put some hot water and we have a cup of tea. But that's not the tea experience that we're talking about. We're talking about taking those moments to appreciate things. How do we come into harmony? How do we allow our thoughts to be melodious? When you go to a tea ceremony, you spend that moment looking, contemplating the implements, because they want you to bring your attention away from the world into the now, into this moment. You don't have to go crazy with artist tea bowls, they're expensive. I picked up this bowl, which I loved and was very, very pleased with in Los Angeles. This wasn't too expensive, it was about $45. I bought it a year or so ago. I just, again, loved the shape of it. You can see, and it's just got a beautiful feeling to it, a nice heft, and it's pleasing. And I think, and it's got this kind of pattern on the back. I think they took some cloth and they kind of created this variegated pattern on the side that makes it kind of quite attractive. I don't know if you can see that at all, but again, I think you get the idea of the shape there. Again, shape is such a personal taste. It's pleasing to me, and I think that's the thing, because if it's pleasing to me or pleasing to you or whatever it is, then that gets a good feeling. And again, going back to that quote, a harmony for every feeling, a melody for our words, or a rhythm for our words and a melody for our thoughts. So, here is my secret weapon, the strainer. And a lot of people don't give thought for that. They take the matcha tea and they don't strain it. And what that can produce is a lot of clumping. And I don't like clumping at the end of my tea. So I don't know how the gold is going to work here. So I'm going to take a couple of scoops. The first scoop goes in, 1, 2. That's quite extravagant, by the way, but I really want to have a good tea ceremony. I want to seal this container, and now I want to strain it so that it goes into a fine powder. It's already in a fine powder, but it can clump. So I'm just putting that. This is very strong tea. It seems like the gold flakes are going through, or maybe they're just circulating. Again, you can see that this takes quite a little bit of time. Again, all part of the thing. You don't want to rush, otherwise you're defeating the whole purpose of it. So normally this goes a lot faster. I think the gold flakes are really kind of accumulating there, so I'm just going to put that there. The tea whisk, the bamboo whisk, is very, very important. We're going to whisk up the tea, and I'm going to put the water here. I like to warm up the whisk beforehand, so I'm going to use my other tea bowl as a kind of a container. There's all kinds of implements in the Japanese tea ceremony. You can see the nice, well, hopefully you can, the nice steam that comes out. And with that steam, it's kind of, that's part of the atmosphere that's being created. I don't know if you can see the steam, but part of the atmosphere that's being created. And I'm going to pour the water in. Again, if I was doing this exact, I would probably use the scoop, the tea scoop. I think, no, this is the scoop. I'm still looking for the word. So I have the matcha bowl, and now I'm kind of doing it in a zigzag pattern, very rapidly. Back and forth, back and forth. I can have it stable here. And then I finish by with a little circle, and I've got like this frothy sea foam effect. Again, the aroma, making sure that I have a moment of harmony, of pausing. I can see the little gold flecks in the tea. By the way, it's unusual to have the gold flecks in the tea. It's a luxury. The most matcha you won't find in this country, I don't think, with gold flecks. And that's just a lovely, lovely, smooth cup of tea. And again, you can tell by just like the feeling that it evokes in one. And it's like, oh, what a pleasure. These days, of course, if you go into a store, a coffee shop, most people are selling matcha. Matcha has really taken off in these last few years. Nobody had heard of it a few years ago. It's hard to find. And now everybody seems to have it around. And usually I find it actually works. And if you go to the right coffee shop or tea shop, I like it with oat milk. So oftentimes I'll have an oat milk matcha as a treat. And but this is taking it straight. This is using the whisk and all the implements. So I don't know if you've getting a little education in terms of the niceties of this, the way of tea. It's a huge deal. And again, giving us a moment to pause, to come into peace, to really relax and enjoy. And the caffeine doesn't hurt as well. Matcha, because it's the whole leaf and because of the way it's been cultivated, very, very good for your health. And of course, always you want to go organic if you possibly can. Don't know if this is organic, but just have to take a chance. I do know that it's a high quality, and I'm going to enjoy this. There's no more steepings. You drink the whole thing. And usually probably put maybe a little bit too much water, but I did put a couple of scoops, just as much as fills here. Boom. Doesn't have to be a lot. And again, I can't stress enough the appreciation of the bowl, the tea itself, the aroma, the taste, that moment where you can relax and pause and find the rhythm in your words, the melody of your thoughts, and the harmony in every feeling. Cheers and cheerio.